Yo, everybody, welcome to the Third Provider podcast, coming at you from Tairua on the Coromandel. And I'm very fortunate this morning to have a good mate of mine on the line. Welcome, Rob Fort.
Hey Carl, how are you, mate? All good?
I'm very, very well. So
Pretty strange.
yeah, pretty strange times to be talking, eh?
Strange sort of situation that we're talking in, really, eh? Because normally it's either a yarn to the face or on the phone, but it's cool what you're doing, bro. Big ups, love it.
Yeah, cheers, Rob. So you're a man of many talents. I'm sure most of the people listening in know your background, but Rob is one of New Zealand's most respected kayak fishermen. He runs Coromandel Kayak Adventures, also a retail store selling kayak and fishing gear in Coromandel town. You're a spearo, you're an artist, you do fish mounts, you write for fishing magazines, you produce kayak fishing videos. Have I missed anything, Rob?
I think you pretty much got it all, bro.
Yep.
And probably everyone listening to this is thinking, how the hell do I find any time to go fishing? But I do. It's a priority thing.
Fishing, mate.
Yeah, always time for fishing.
That's sort of what these podcasts are all about, catching up with people equally as mad about fishing as I am, and I think you fit that category, and I always appreciate having a good yarn to you, Rob. You've always got something interesting to say. And
cool.
who have you been spending lockdown with, and what have you been up to?
So yeah, I've been spending lockdown with my partner Janet, who she's been getting a lot of stuff done around here. And what have we been up to? Well, I guess, I've really thrown myself into my art, as you can see behind me, like a couple of paintings on the go. And it was kind of good timing, I mean, this virus thing is never going to be good timing for anybody, but it's a great time to reflect. And I guess one thing that we've all got more of at the moment is time, which everybody's always looking for, Yeah. And so, I've been in the garden, but these are things that I normally do. And one of my challenges with this lockdown, Carl, was I work from home, most of the time, apart from when I go out and get inspiration in the ocean and get some kai. But, like I'm always here. So my escape from work is to go out, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of trapped in my workspace. And so nothing's really changed for me that much, apart from it's given me time to reflect on life. And I've always been a very big believer in the environment and looking after it. So it's kind of giving me a little bit of grounding to think, how can I tell other people about this stuff and encourage other people to do what we do, Carl? I've been watching your things that you're up to with your new section, and it's quite exciting to see you doing all your gardening, and that's what it's all about, So I'm always thinking about ways that we can make our lives better and how we can be better to the environment we live in too, our impacts, the whole lot. So yeah, so it's given me a lot of time to reflect, mate, that's for sure.
Yeah, like yourself, Rob, I think I've appreciated bit of time out from the usual routine, and do a bit of stuff like getting grounded, doing some gardening, doing a few things that might not normally do. The whole time I've lived in Tairua, I lived in Tairua for 16 years, and I've never actually gone and got pippy in the harbour. So I've been doing that the last few days. It's been just something nice
Awesome.
and simple, and coming back and cooking them up each night. Pippy fritters, and last night I had pippy pasta. Yum.
You made me bloody hungry, mate, when I saw that the other night. I was like, I put a little comment there. I don't know if you saw it. I just put nice because, you touched my heart with those pippies, bro. Missing the seafood, even though I've got a bit in my freezer, and I'm slowly working it down, So, yeah, but yeah, mate, it's all about that kai, and knowing, that connection to where it came from and everything is quite important. And I think that's been lost by a lot of people.
Yeah. It's been good seeing you get back into your art, Rob. And I think that's one of the things I love about you, is you're always reinventing yourself and not just being pigeonholed into being a kayak fisherman. I think it's one of the things that sort of in my last business as well, I felt reasonably pigeonholed into being that person that caught kingfish. And
Absolutely.
anything, the thing that I'm most passionate about is cooking up what I catch or going for a dive.
Sharing it, eh?
Equally passionate about diving as I am fishing. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the good things about having a month or a little bit longer out is, just a little bit of time for people to think about, who are you? Yeah. Most people are many things and not just one thing.
Yeah, totally, eh? So, I mean, for myself, I mean, I'm quite, and yourself too, the spotlight's on us quite a bit, with who we are. And I didn't see this coming, thanks to Mike Rendell. He kind of got me into this, and I've been very fortunate with the path that it's taken me on. But at the end of the day, my mission in life is to actually get people to appreciate and respect the environment and the living creatures that exist, and I can do that with my art because people see something I've painted and they admire it, and it changes people's lives. It can do, so to share those intimate moments that we see and take for granted, Carl, you and I are out there on the ocean, and I mean, the filming was one of the reasons I went down that path was because the things I see, bro. I just wanted to share that with people, and also my knowledge. I love teaching people, and I love to, and it's encouraging, and the feedback that I get from my videos, for example, from people, one person will say, oh, I've been watching your vids and man, you've just got me so pumped that I went out and bought myself a kayak, and bro, that's job done for me, eh? Just one person like that and I'm happy, so it keeps me motivated, definitely, when I hear things like that. So pretty cool.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky with our backyard, aren't we? Even just, I don't know, I've been holed up at home for quite a bit during the lockdown and doing, gardening and stuff. And even just a simple thing like going and getting walking out on the flats at low tide and getting close to the ocean again. And water was crystal clear. Tide was sort of at the end of the outgoing tide, but it's still clear as. There were eagle rays swimming around near my feet. Like just seeing the paddle crabs walking along. There's always something crazy you see when you get close to the ocean, isn't it?
It's that time thing too, mate. Like sitting around. Yesterday I thought, oh man, I'm going to go sit out in my section somewhere just for a little while in the sun, and chill out. And I sat there, and next thing there's little skinks darting around in the grass, and you don't find or see these things unless you actually take the time out and sit with nature, and things will unfold, and I mean, we've got an amazing bird life here in Coromandel, really. It's I mean, where I live, I've got a lot of trees and stuff, and the bird life that comes here is just phenomenal. It's awesome. So, it's getting in touch with that nature, and I think a lot of people have lost that. And I have got some ideas for that, and I'm sure we'll talk about in Carl as we get it through some stuff. But yeah, like I want to see people, putting things in place that can help them enjoy nature, and a lot of people, for me, I see a lot of people planning their sections around maintenance free, putting down materials that doesn't require any work or whatever, and that's all well and good because we're all strapped with time, but it doesn't actually pay dividends for the environment. For example, one lemon tree in your backyard. A lot of people say, oh, I haven't got much of a yard, but that doesn't mean that you can't utilize that little space. And one little lemon tree is going to give you lemons, and it's also the feel-good factor. That tree will offset a little bit of your carbon footprint, let alone whatever else you grow. And the families, I mean, this too, Carl, with having kids and stuff. They really connect with things like growing vegetables and stuff, because the buzz is it gets on the plate later and they eat it, and it's like it all connects for them, so quite important. And I think a lot of people have lost that, and this coronavirus thing has actually got people into that, because they've been panicking about, oh man, and we're going to have food in the future. This shouldn't be the trigger. You should be doing this normally in life. You know what I mean? Growing vegetables is all part of it. And a lot of, you know, our generation were brought up with that, thankfully, we had dads and stuff. And the kids, I think the kids these days are into it too. And you show them that kind of stuff and man, they just flourish from it, eh?
Yeah. I think, especially when you're a fisher and you can go and catch your own protein, a fisher or a hunter, and you know you can get your own protein. And if you've got your garden as well, and you've got your parsley, you got your mint, you got your basil, you got your zucchinis growing, you got your kumara there. There's not a lot else you actually need to go to the supermarket to buy on a regular.
Not really, eh, bro? You know, that's the thing. And so, yeah, I mean, look, I just got a pack of snapper out that I caught just before lockdown. And I know we're going to talk about that later. But, you know, I pulled it out today because I'm going to make something with it tonight, some Thai fish cakes or something, you know. And I'll go to the garden. I've got some basil. And those little herbs are so easy to grow, you know. So it's anyone can do it, and fresh is best, eh, mate? We all know, you know, how good our own produce tastes. You can't beat it. Tomatoes, for example, eh? I mean,
tomatoes, yeah. Pumpkin, fresh from the garden. Yeah, absolutely can't beat the sweetness. Same with kumara.
Yeah.
So back to fishing, Rob. So kayak fishing. What you've been in the game for a long time. You made videos about it, you've written about it, done seminars. What first got you into kayak fishing?
It was actually spearfishing, Carl, because I've had a lifelong fascination with the ocean, spearfishing especially. It was quite funny because my parents told me a few things about what I was like when I was younger. They used to take me to the beach, and they've got this photo of me with a mask and snorkel and flippers, you know, at the age of 6. And they said I'd get in the water and they literally couldn't get me out. You know, when it was time to leave, they'd come down to the water and I'd swim off, you know. So it was like I just belonged in the ocean. And I spearfished from the age of 10 or 12. I went, you know, I used to go gather paua and fish, butterfish for my parents, you know, and cook it up for them. But yeah, so that's what got me into the kayak fishing. Was when I moved up into the north, you know, there was always that extra bit of coastline I could never get to with the spearfishing. You know, you can swim only so far, you know, and towing kingies around and things when you've got the height of summer and bronzies and things, it ain't pretty sometimes, you know. So yeah, I got the kayak. That's how I started. And but I figured out pretty quickly that you could fish off this thing too. And sort of I've combined the two together. Like for me, spearfishing, kingies aren't so hard to spear, you know, but I love catching them on the kayak. You know, for example, I love jigging for them and that sort of thing. It's awesome fun. But when it comes to spearfishing, I love snapper snooping. Would be one of my favorite pastimes when I'm in the water. I just love the whole process of it. And the snapper are a really funny species when it comes to spearfishing. You know, the 1 minute they're flighty and finicky as hell, and the next minute, I mean, recently, last year, I had this freak thing happen to me with a snapper. I was peering over a ledge, you know, and this one came up to me and charged straight at the end of my spear gun and bit the tip of my spear, mate, you know. I mean, it was bizarre. I got it on camera, though, so it was quite cool. But the poor bugger, you know, he bit my spear and then he went back and he turned broadside and I shot him. And he tasted good, too. So, but it was a bit of a classic. So... yeah, so the kayak's been quite awesome.
Something I haven't managed to do yet. We might have to do that one day. I shot some kingies, but snappers still on the list.
They're right under your nose, bro. Honestly, you know, like my biggest speared snapper, 27.5, it was probably 30 when I speared it in 5 meters of water. And that thing came out of a really shallow bay. And this is one cool thing about spearfishing, eh? You know, you get a massive amount of knowledge from being in the water with those species. So when you go fishing, yeah, you know, it really does give you a big mindset as to knowing where the fish can potentially be. And one of the things I love about the kayak is that stealth factor, you know, and sneaking around and going undetected. And it really does actually make a big difference. You know, I've fished next to boats. I always refer to this one classic example, Carl, when I was in the early days here in Coro, when I was pretty much the only one, you know, on a kayak. this one of the local operators, I was sitting having a chat to them, charter guy, and they had a boatload of people and nothing was happening. You know, we were sitting in the farms, and I don't even fish farms these days, but we were sitting there having a yarn, and then we were catching bugger all, and they're like, oh, we're going to go, you know. So they chucked me a whole heap of pilchards, you know. This is when I was bait fishing. And within 30 seconds of them unhooking and starting to move off, I had a fish on the end of my line, 10-pound snapper. So, you know, it really told me that the fish were there, but they're not stupid, eh? You know, there's no doubt about it. So, yeah. Probably going off topic a bit here, Carl, but that's me. I'm all over the place, mate. My crazy mind just goes everywhere, you know. It's hard to control.
So I guess one of the other bonuses is no fuel bill.
Yeah, and you know, the only cost really is driving to the location, and I love that because you can actually, you know, go somewhere and launch, you know, whereas guys in boats have to find a ramp and then they drive there, which tends to burn up a bit more gas. But it's the whole intimacy of the ocean, you know. It's like that you're going through the motion as you're heading to the spot. You're close to the surface of the water, and it's the smells, the whole lot, you know. When a boat comes around, you really smell, you know, those old two-strokes, man. You really smell them, and I love two-strokes. I'm a old racing motorcycle racer, you know. Way back, I used to race two-strokes, but yeah, you know, things like that you really notice, and sound too. Like boats can be quite noisy, you know. But what grates me, mate, is when I'm fishing and it's really hard and I'm hunting around and I finally hook a fish, and then a dude in a launch sees me and comes over, picks up his anchor actually, comes over and then drops his anchor again. What I can't work out with these people actually is most of the time it's when the day is really nice and calm and they don't even need to anchor. And I reckon a lot of people could learn a lot from doing more modern fishing styles, you know. Yeah. The new tackle we've got now, mate, and the kayak's been really good for that because it's so quiet. But I go out on boats with people and show them how to use it, and people are just too stuck in their ways, you know. They need to just open their horizons and their minds a bit to other ways and mix it up a bit, I reckon. And I've seen a lot of that, you know, a lot of people that have done the same old, you know, and then failed because of it, rather than going, well, this isn't working today, so I should try this, you know. But they don't, most of the time they don't have anything else with them to change it up, you know. They're limited because they've only got one thing. Yeah. So yeah, it's,
and it would have I mean, yeah, the fishing you're doing is primarily lure fishing, isn't it? Would have opened your
pretty much, mate. I haven't
micro
Yeah, I love the jigging, mate. You know, snapper are just so, you know, like I say, I've learned a lot about them from diving, you know, and that incident with the spear tip, you know, obviously my flopper and my spearhead was glimmering in the sun or something, you know what I mean? And that's why that snapper came up. And that just told me, man, no wonder they love micro jigs and slow pitch jigging, and that it just falls right into their predatory instincts. And, you know, you can go out with one jig and pretty much fish all day and have an absolute blast, mate. And I do, you know, it's the most economical fishing you can do.
Yeah, it's actually amazing how quick snapper pick up on scent. I was out getting some power the other day, and I think I mistakenly ripped the shell off the power. Came up and surge hit me and got knocked off it, and I was trying to find where that power was, and I thought something inside me said, look around for the fish, there'll be fish around it. And I looked down and there's two big snapper there sitting on top of it. I'd ripped it off the rock and having a good old feast. Pretty
awesome. But they are, you know, it's like when you get a cray, for example, and you drop a leg comes off or something, and you swim back to put your cray in the boat or in the kayak or whatever, and you come back, or the catch bag, and you come back because you're looking for more crays that's quite concentrated in that area, and there's a snapper has already moved in. They're just so switched on, eh? Yep. Like you say. So yeah, and you know, that's one of the reasons why diving's so good for so many people, you know. I mean, it's bloody, when you get in that water, man, you know yourself, Carl, eh? It's just, there's something about it. It's just, it's like, I describe it a bit like being into motorcycles, for example. You know, guys go out for a ride, put their helmet on, and they don't think about anything else but that. And I think freediving's like that too. You know, it's all based on relaxation and clearing the mind. And I come back from a free dive, full day's diving, and I feel awesome, you know, for it. It's like and that's what we need. And this is the hard thing about this bloody isolation we've had. You know, it's sort of tested our ability to go and give ourselves a better sort of mental health by getting out on the water. We haven't been able to do that, you know. So, you know, the good thing is we've all filled our days with the other stuff. Mostly, I hope so. Anyway.
Yeah. I think that's what diving's all about to me. It's my form of meditation or mindfulness or being present. You're just definitely there in the moment. I'm more and more getting into my free diving, but for me, I love scuba diving and you're just totally taken back to all you can do really while you're down there is breathe. And if you get into a slightly freaky situation, all you can do is breathe in and out, and that's pretty much the number one rule for scuba diving.
Totally. And free diving too is really good for scuba guys, because the fact that you don't need to breathe as much, you tend to use less air and stay down longer, you know. So that relaxation pays dividends in so many ways, you know, even with scuba. And scuba's not something I've done a lot of, but, you know, because I'm so heavily addicted to freediving. But yeah, I can see scuba. Sometimes there would be moments where I would quite enjoy scuba, especially filming underwater camera work and stuff. You know, you're limited in your amount of time you can hold your breath, which you can still capture a lot, but there's always those limitations. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So now maybe something for me to take up. You know, I'm not getting any younger, but yeah, I don't let that bother me. Age is just a number, you know. So
yeah, I don't think anyone should let age stop them doing anything. I've always wanted to get into surfing, and it's only 2 years ago I first stood up on a surfboard. So
yeah.
So So some of the other benefits of kayak fishing, you must obviously notice it physically, like it's a good exercise workout as well as getting out for a fish.
Absolutely. You know, like I've taken up pedal kayaks just recently, as you probably know. More of a workout. Unbelievable, man. Like you pedal along and you're puffing when you first get in that thing, because it's awesome. So I've loved that because it's been so good for my free diving. You know what I mean? It's strengthened up my legs more. It's just a real workout. I like the hands-free fishing. You know, like I'm a paddler from way back, and I've done 25 years of paddling, but my shoulders are buggered, Carl. You know, doing this stuff, airbrushing, has ruined my shoulders. You know, like from just long-term painting, it's something you can't, you know, get coverage for, you know, ACC for or anything, because it's that repetitive injury. And, you know, years ago I went to a specialist, and I says, you know, what about the paddling? Because they did a big ultrasound and found all these bumps growing in my shoulder. And this is from the tendon working through and me painting for so many years. You know, it's rubbed it. And he said, oh, basically the kayak won't be any good for it. But it's actually has been really good for it. You know, like it's actually strengthened it up. And same with my back, you know, my back, I'm always leaning forward and I'm not the best with postures and stuff. And the kayak's really helped with that too, you know, with using upper body and even fishing. Hey, mate, you know, like fishing's real good exercise too. Like you try mechanical jigging for a few hours, you know, and stuff like that. It's a good workout. So, and even a good fish on the line, hey, bro, you know, you're pumping muscles. You know, it's my ultimate way of pumping weights, I reckon. It's just to try and lift a big kingfish on the end of the line or whatever. Even a shark, you know, is a lot of fun. So, you know, it's good exercise, and there's a reward with it, eh? Getting that exercise, it's a whole package deal, because we all know, you know, how good you feel after doing some exercise. I mean, you go for a walk and you come back and you feel good for it, you know, and kayaking's the same. But there's that other aspect of reward, like you've earned everything you've got. You've done it with your own bare sort of power, your raw power, your own ability. So you come back and, you've earned every fish you get, and you do, you do earn them, but there's a real big satisfaction factor in that, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Someone looking at getting into the game, well, I'm reasonably interested. You've sold me. What advice would you have, and what sort of budget are you looking at to get kitted out?
So, yeah, I've been getting a bit of this lately as well with people on lockdown. They're sort of considering their options here, eh? And I mean, and quite often people have this mindset of kayak fishing's cheap to get into, and it's not expensive when you look at a boat cost and things, but it can be expensive. It all comes down to what you purchase and that. There is cheaper out there, but we all know that cheap is not always best, Reputable brands are a good way to start, but a lot of people will go, probably my biggest thing first and foremost is a lot of people will buy off online and they won't look at the kayak or go and try it, Like you wouldn't go, for me, I would never go buy a car without taking it for a test drive, and the same deal applies with a kayak. You're going to be putting yourself in this, and every kayak's different. That what suits one person doesn't necessarily suit another. Everyone's got different body weights, heights. So yeah, one guy recently was looking to get into spearfishing off kayaks and got in touch with me, and he's quite a big guy, 6'6", and he had this boat that he was sort of zoned in on. It was the right price for him and that, but after talking to me, he decided to back out of the deal and save a bit more money. So my answer to the budget thing, I guess you can pick up some pretty good kayaks on Trade Me and things like that for, if you want to go second hand and you are limited on how much money you got, but save about $1,500. You know what I mean? Because that generally gets you something reasonable that's in good condition, and it also gets you a bit of other kit with it. You know what I mean? It's quite a hidden sort of thing. Like you can buy kayaks online for in the $800 bracket, for example, right? An ocean kayak, for example, secondhand, and they're good quality kayaks. I mean, all my rental fleet is ocean kayaks because of that. They last, And my original boat, one of them is 25, 30 years old now, still going. I put people in it all the time and let them take it for a paddle, when they're renting and stuff. So you can buy stuff for around, in the below $1,000 mark, but the trade-off there is quite often you'll end up having to fit it out with gear, okay? And that can set you back, a little bit more upwards of 500. People don't consider that when you get a kayak, you've got to transport it, for example, and that requires either roof racks, so another cost, and sometimes they forget even about the life jacket side of things, and so you must have a life jacket. We all promote that, and on a kayak you should always wear one. So there's that, and cheap. The $50 life jacket is not going to last, and so go save up the money. I reckon, if you can't afford it, don't just compromise, just wait a bit longer. As much as you want to get into it, wait a bit longer. And then if you go down the new path, like an average paddle kayak can be over $2,000, up to $5,000. Like I've got pedal kayaks, for example, that retail for around $5,000, but you get a whole lot of kayak for that, including a drive system that's worth a lot of money. And some people go, oh, you should I could go buy a small tinny or whatever for that. Sweet, go for it. But my kayak's still going to catch more fish than you, so go hard. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it is, bro. Because so often you come back to the beach. So often you come back to the beach though, bro, and you've got fish in the back, and people are going, it's like some mystery, oh my God, you've got fish, and it's like, well, it's not rocket science, man. We were out there in stealth bombers, and they didn't know we were there, so they're taking everything. Whereas the other person in the tinny's like, hell slap, the noise, someone drops a sinker in the bottom of the boat, bang. And being a diver, bro, you know how loud those sounds can be underwater. And fish just know, man. It's like when you come up and drop an anchor and you're really noisy with it. It'll take a while for the fish to sort of recover and come back on feeling secure, So, yeah. So, you know, you can spend a bit of money. I mean, the accessories are what cost, Carl, and then there's the clothing, okay? Because we're sitting in these open cockpit vessels, you know, people in boats will spend quite considerable amounts of money having canopies and blah, blah, you know, made or whatever. Whereas we don't have that sort of option, but we have to put good gear on our body. You know, we've got to protect ourselves from the wind, the rain, the cold, you know, so you've got to buy really good quality technical gear, because that will, you know, if you buy cheap stuff, you'll end up putting lots of layers on, and you don't want that because you feel restricted. So you can get really good gear out there that you can wear that single layer, for example, but it costs $200-300, but it's all you ever need, you know, like. And I've been trying to encourage people to buy better, you know, these days. You know, we've got this throwaway society that we've become, right? And, you know, like even the kayak market has become like that, with Chinese import kayaks that have come in. You know, nobody knows. They've got warranties of 1-2 years. And to me, that rings alarm bells, you know, because quite often with a cheaper option, there is a compromise on how much UV stabilizers in the plastic, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And next thing you know, after 5 or 6 years, your kayak's actually turning to powder, you know. And also there's also the design process too. You know, these reputable brands put a lot of time into research and design and getting a really good design that's going to handle conditions. And then you get the copies and that, and they have flaws in them, you know, somewhere. So, and that's why it's so important to try them, mate.
Yeah, sounds definitely like coming out for a bit of a kayak adventure with your first is the way to go. Get to know kayak fishing, and then work out what you're going to buy.
That's it, mate. You know, you go to a reputable person, you know, like someone like me. You can ring me up, mate, and I'll help you out all day long. I'm not interested. I mean, getting the sales is all nice and everything, but it's not about that. For me, it's about a balance of, if I can help people and make money at it at the same time, fantastic. But I'm not driven by the money. So, you know, and you'll find that other stores that specialize in kayak fishing will be the same. You know, they'll be more than willing to come out with, you know, their knowledge, and that's where talking to people who have got experience. There's a good range of clubs around New Zealand now. You know, there in Auckland, there's a couple. There's Whakatane, Tauranga, you know, Taranaki, and so, you know, there is plenty of support for kayakers now, you know, as with other people, because a lot of people want to go out with somebody else. So, you know, it's all about. See, I like, the reason I got into this kayaking was I love being on my own. I don't have a problem with spending time by myself sometimes, you know, and kayaking fits right into that. So we should be able to go kayak fishing, I reckon, on level 3, bro.
Well, don't start me on that, mate.
I know, it's just wishful thinking, you know. We're more self-isolated, and yeah.
I think we're pretty fortunate to be living on the Coromandel, that's for sure.
Absolutely, mate. You know, we are, and you know, the concept of being able to go out and gather, you know, that is my supermarket out there, bro. You know, it really is.
Yeah. And
it's the same for you, you know.
So what was fishing like over west side before lockdown? It was pretty awesome. And here in close, we didn't have to go too far, and we're into a good kingies, slow trolling, lots of good bait around. The snapper was starting to come in shallow again. What's been like over there?
Yeah, it was awesome, mate. I went out on the last day on the eve of lockdown to get a feeder snapper to keep us going. Yeah. I took my partner Janet out, and we had a great day. It was beautiful conditions, and the fish, a lot of little fish, you know, a lot of little fish there that we found, but we found the good ones, and it was quite a hard case. And this was up in the coast, up against the coast. You know, we were just getting to the point at the end of the day where we were heading back, and I've got one of my little favourite spots out the front of the harbour there, and I said to Janet, I just have this cast, you know. I had my marks on my sounder, you know, it's a place I know so well. And I fired out this jerk shad soft bait, mate, and it sunk, and like textbook, I hooked up, and it was 19.5 pound.
That's right.
Yeah. and I let it go. You know, I watched it swim away afterwards, but my partner Janet was like, "You tinny bastard, that was like a textbook frickin' thing you just did there, and I can't believe you just," because she's quite competitive on the water, eh? You know, like most chicks are, and she's like always trying to catch the better fish than me, you know, always trying to beat me, man. So when I keep all the fish, so you know what I do? I say to her, even if she gets a good one, I'm like, "That's a good fish, but it's not quite as good as my one," and it just ribs her a little bit, you know. It's just a bit of banter that I have and a bit of fun with her that I have on the day when we go out. But this day, bro, she was winning. She had a better fish than me, and she pulled it out of 6 meters of water. We found this nice little spot on the way back, and there was some fish rising on the surface, and there were bust ups and stuff, and we were casting right up against the shore, bro, and hooking some great eaters, you know. And I love that kind of fishing, eh? And it's one of the things that you can really enjoy on a kayak is that shallow water stuff, you know. I mean, I used to be a bit of a rock fisherman and that in the day, and when I lived on the barrier, I caught a few 20s off the rocks out there and stuff before I came to Coromandel. And now I find myself on the kayak casting back towards the shore rather than casting from the shore away from it. So the fish can be in close. So, you know, that's the cool part about it. And especially here in Coro, mate, you know, we've got so much country out there and so much diversity in our fishing, eh? This is paradise, you know. I've been overseas quite a bit and I've dived over in Aussie, and I remember, like, I went to Bateman's Bay, and I think it was just before they went into that sort of panic mode where they shut all the fishery down. You know, like they started closing areas down because their stocks were low, and like I saw it firsthand what it was like over there at that time, and it was pretty decimated, you know, compared to here. And I think we can learn a lot from overseas, eh? You know, like we have, you know, we're not in great shape, but we're in a hell of a lot better shape than everybody else. But you know, one of the things that I've thought about too, Carl, was this time that we've just had. I mean, this COVID-19 thing is a bit of a man-made scenario, you know, but you know, I look at the positives of it, bro, and our fish are being left alone at the moment, big time. You know, and I mean, just to open up a little bit of a thought here, mate, but to me, I'm really quite passionate about looking after it for the future, obviously, the same as yourself. And I've seen that with the charters you've done, bro. You know, tops to you for, you know, you're a person who specializes in adventure rather than gathering. You know what I mean? Like, gathering's all part of it, but it's more the adventure of going out there and the whole package deal rather than just filling the bin. And quite a few, you know, I'm not against charters, but I think that they need to, you know, encompass that more rather than the emphasis on going and getting a feed, you know, going and filling up your limit and coming back. And I see a bit of that here. But where I was sort of heading with this, Carl, was probably my estimation would be just here in Coromandel per day at the moment, because we've just had this lockdown through the most peak time for snapper fishing here, mate. It's you know, it's definitely on. You know, we're catching them in the harbour usually at this time of the year, and you know, it bodes well for the stocks, but it does bring to my sort of thoughts about how we need to look at perhaps preserving our fish over the breeding part. You know, do we shut the fishery down for a little bit of time so the fish can breed, you know, is one of the things I've always sort of thought about. And it hasn't been so bad with this lockdown, you know, for a month, eh? You know what I'm saying, Carl? As much as it's like not always going to be easy for people to do, other countries do it, you know. I just worry that we keep fishing the way we are and eventually it collapses and then we do end up like that. Why not think about what we're doing before it happens and try to prevent it, you know?
Yeah, we do it with other species, don't we? Like scallops.
Yeah, and even trout, you know, fish and game.
Which brings me to next topic of conversation, which I think we both share an affinity with one very cool place on the Coromandel. So I was going to ask, what's your favourite posse? If you had a day or two to go off on an adventure somewhere on the Coro, where would it be? And I've run into you quite a few times at Opedo Bay. I think we
Yeah.
both have love for that.
Yeah, that area around. Yeah, bro. Yeah, that'd have to, the Mercury sort of islands and Opedo Bay and out from there, you know, is probably one of my favourite places because it's all there. You know, I can venture out to Danger Rocks, for example, go Jigga Kingy up, come back in the coast, or dive around the islands and jump in for a cray, or, you know, spear a John Dory. I mean, Opedo Bay, mate, you know what's there and what can be there. And I've just had so many cool experiences in that place. So, and so yeah, I'd have to say that. And I also have a bit of a passion for the top end of Coromandel too, you know, up the top. It's pretty special. So it's pretty hard though, because it's all pretty good, mate.
Yeah. Have you been to the Aldi's yet?
Not yet, bro. That's something I've been saving for you and I. So
Yeah.
we must do that someday.
I think that'll have to be. We'll have to go chuck a. Might have to come over and see you first and get a little bit schooled up, and then we'll chuck a couple of cocktails on the boat and go out to the Aldi's.
Yeah, bro. I have to take the dive gear out there, mate.
Yeah.
I have fished a bit out there. Like, you'll remember when Max Fishing League, I think we went out there.
Yeah.
I was on the boat with you and we went out and fished out the back there too. I mean, that's such a great fishery out there, man. You're lucky to have that on your doorstep. And whenever I come over the hill and look across the expanse to the ocean and see those, bro, it just makes me want to go there.
Yeah. Definitely hanging to get back out there, that's for sure. So what's onto your favourite seafood? What if you're going out, sort of, what are you most looking forward to catching fresh and eating, and how would you cook it up?
Okay, so probably my favourite thing that I love straight out of the ocean is scallops. Can't beat them. You know yourself, bro, when you crack one open that you've just pulled up, and the creamy, just the whole package deal of that flavour, man. You know, like I prefer my scallops like that any day over cooked, you know. But cooked, I definitely have a big power, mate. Would be in terms of cooked. I love my power. I love making power schnitzel. Actually, is one of the things that I enjoy, which is like you cut the foot into three. So you got the bottom, you got the middle section, you got the part that connects to the shell. Yeah. And if you know, so I tend to do that, and then I put it in some cling film and give it a bash, and then I crumb it with a mix of, you know, it's got Parmesan cheese in it, garlic, all those kind of things to just snazz it up a bit, bro. And I love playing with seafood and cooking it in different ways, man. It's like, I've been enjoying a bit of kingfish just a couple of days ago. I love kingfish too. A lot of people don't understand kingfish or don't like it, but it comes down to how they prepare and eat it, you know. And I mean, cured kingfish, mate. I do this cured kingfish because, you know yourself, one kingfish, you've got so much meat on it. Yeah. So I've kind of got a number of ways that I've done that, you know, that I do it so that I make it go around. I'll smoke some, and I'll eat some raw, and I'll cure some, which is virtually raw. It's just been cured for a few hours, and I love it in Cajun seasoning too. You know, like it goes so well together, doesn't it?
I love Cajun kingfish kebabs. Don't go wrong.
Yeah.
What do you do to cure it, Rob?
Okay, so yeah, it's quite an easy recipe, really. I have got a video on my NZ kayak fishing page if anyone wants to watch this. But I'll tell you, it's mix up like 100 grams of caster sugar, 100 grams of sea salt. Yeah. And then about 2 or 3 lemons, the rind of them, grated in as well. Lemons, mix it all up until it gets to a sort of honey consistency. Yeah. And then basically coat each piece of fish. I tend to cut them about, say, 10 inches long, 7 inches long, a nice bit of loin or something, for example. Yep. And then I'll cut that about that length, and I'll coat it in the mix, the cure mix, and then wrap it up in cling film or whatever, and leave it for 3 hours in the fridge. And then when once that's done, take it out and basically just use a paper towel and wipe off all that, anything that's on the outside of it. Yeah. And then you've got to make up a mixture of smoky paprika, cumin seeds, and I like to use a mortar and pestle because the fresh seeds like peppercorns and that freshly ground is actually better than buying ground stuff. But if you can't do that, then go and buy some freshly ground stuff if you want. But I'll mix that together. So the peppercorns, cumin, about a teaspoon of each or 2 teaspoons of each equally. Mix that all together, pound it up into a powder, and then rub that on the outside of the kingfish.
Yeah.
Okay. And then vac pack it if you want, or just put some aside to eat fresh. You only need to leave it half an hour and it's ready. And then you just thinly slice it onto a plate or a platter, and put thin slices of radish and avocado around as well, and like squeeze some lemon or lime on it and go hard, mate. And oh boy, I've made it a lot. You'll have to make it, bro. It's a goodie. It's a goodie, mate. It goes down a treat with everyone I've fed it to. I've got some in my freezer, actually, 1 pack left.
Oh, yeah.
So it freezes really well too. You can like vac pack it, freeze it, and I pulled some out the other day and just thinly sliced it, and it still had that, you know, that iridescent pearlescent sort of glow on it.
Yeah.
It still had that.
Bloody.
So yeah.
Oh,
You gotta try that one, bro.
You heard it here, folks. Cured kingfish and power schnitzel. Boom.
Totally.
Oh, thanks heaps for having a chat, Rob. I'm
Awesome, mate.
looking forward to catching up in the flesh and getting on a kayak.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe film it or something if you guys come over. It'd be cool to do a little, you know, I've got my show, so anyone wants to check out what I'm doing, they can jump on my YouTube channel, and there's 100 videos on there. You know, there's a lot. Look, and the Real Screaming Kayak show, which I started a few years ago, is on its 43rd episode, so nearly up to 50. So yeah, I mean, my last one I just put up was insane. The kingfish action in the bronzies, man. Whew. Yeah. But I'm still alive. People have this thing about sharks, bro, when you're in kayaks. I've heard it all, but I'm more worried about driving through Auckland, bro.
Too right. Oh, no, awesome chatting, Rob. Look forward to catching up soon, and thanks heaps for taking some time out and talking to us.
Cheers, bro.
Take it easy.
To talk to you, man.
Cheers.
You too, bro. Cheers.